Hey everyone, welcome to Coding Vibes. This is the next video of our Solid Principle series where we are going to discuss open or closed principle. Let's start looking into the definition of open or closed principle. So if you see, right, the definition of open and closed principle is the software entities should be open for extension but closed for modification. So first thing first, let's try to understand what is software entities, right? So software entities, these are fundamentals of fundamental building blocks of a software, right? So a few example could be classes, or you can say modules, even you can say functions are methods. So these are there are others as well, right? But these are some of the fundamental entities of सॉफ्टवेयर. सो ओपन और क्लोज प्रिंसिपल क्या बोलता है कि कोई भी सॉफ्टवेयर एंटिटी ओपन फॉर एक्सटेंशन होनी चाहिए बट क्लोज्ड फॉर मॉडिफिकेशन. सो व्हाट डज दैट मीन? सो लेट्स से देयर इज अ सॉफ्टवेयर, राइट? व्हाट एसेंशियली इट मीन्स इज उस सॉफ्टवेयर का बिहेवियर वी कैन extend the behavior, right, without modifying the source code of it, right? This would be more clear when we will be going through the going over example, right? But for now it's very straightforward. Any software entity should be open for extension. That essentially means there can be other features that can be added to it, but it should be closed for modification. So we should not exactly touch the source code of it. There is this point which is very important. The exception is if we are fixing some bug in existing code, right, in existing feature, that's always allowed, right? This is not something that you should say that yeah, we are violating open or closed principle. There are bugs. If there are bugs in existing feature, you'll always fix them there, right? So this is very important point. एक एग्जांपल देखते हैं जो हमने अपनी प्रीवियस वीडियो में देखा था, which was about payment service. So there was a class payment processor, right, and it has a method called process payment, right, and it was taking a payment object, and it has implementation to process a payment. Now let's say there is a requirement where assume करते हैं this process method was processing a payment of type, let's say, credit card payment. Now assume that we have two more requirement where we want to support PayPal payment, and then let's say another payment method, let's say Bitcoin payment. Let's say we want to support these two payment method as well. The method that we have, right, as of now, if you see, if it is supporting credit card type of payment, right, if you want to implement PayPal or Bitcoin payment, you probably have to make some changes in this process method, right, to achieve these two payment methods, right? Now that's the problem, right? So open closed principle, what it says is an existing feature, right, an existing software entity, in this case this is the method, right, or function that we are talking about, right? So in this case we are trying to, if we have to implement these two features, we will have to somehow change the existing source code, right? And that is what is violation of open/closed principle. Okay, so what do we do to achieve these two payment methods, right? And we make sure that we don't violate the open or closed principle as well, right? Simple है, like we know about abstraction, right? So let's say the payment processor that we had, right? We make it as an abstract class. Now it would have a, let's say, void abstract. Now given this is an abstract method, right? So we don't have any implementation of it over here. Now what we can do is we can implement different payment processor using this abstract payment processor class. So what we can do, let's say we can have a class for credit card payment processor which extends payment processor, right? And if it is extending the payment processor, we'll have to implement the abstract methods of the payment processor, and then it does the processing of this payment using credit card, right? So this is one. And now the other thing is where we wanted to implement PayPal, right? And then it does the processing of this payment using PayPal. And similarly you can have Bitcoin processor, and then the process method of this particular class would process the payment assuming that it is a Bitcoin payment method. So in this case, if you see, what we did is we abstracted the payment processor, right? Now this payment processor class is abstracted. Now to implement any kind of payment methods, we would just extend this class, right, to implement the new payment processor without actually making change to, let's say, credit card payment processor was already there, right? So we don't really have to touch this particular part, right? We will just go ahead and create a new payment processor. So if you say, now our payment processor is actually following open and close principle. So it is open for extension, you can add any other type of payment processor, right? But it is closed for modifications, right? So if you want to add any new payment processor, you don't really have to come back to credit card payment processor and make any change over here. The only exception, as I said, there can be some issues with credit card payment processor, then you do the fix over here, right? And then that's all. So this is the example of open and close principle, right? So that's about the definition part of the open/close principle. In next video we will code this particular example and we will see another example along with the benefits of open/closed principle. So thanks for watching.